Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is our Arise News analyst, Emmanuel Efeni. Great Malabite, good morning.
Good morning, Ruben. Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Rufai.
Good morning.
Yes, we start the review with This Day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. We start from the window story. Dangote, NNPC ready to supply our refinery with crude oil in few weeks. Debunks alleged denial of feedstock by Kyari-led state oil firm. Lords NNPC management for being supportive partner. Yes, the president of the Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote himself, has risen in defense of the NNPCL, Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, against the reported denial of crude, because that really made a lot of Nigerians worried that if Dangote refinery is going to import crude, then we've really had it as a nation. But the Aliko Dangote, the president of the Dangote Group himself, has come out to say no, that is not the case. But of course, the report, that report yesterday was taken from an interview granted to S&P Global Commodity Insights by the company's as Dangote's Group Executive Director, Davenkuma Edwin. But again, a portion of the interview there perhaps twisted, and now Aliko Dangote himself have come out to give the clarification that, he said further, that's Aliko Dangote now, that being a shareholder and a responsive partner, it is an aberration to assume that the NNPC will in any way do anything to truncate or delay the commencement of operation of our refinery. We will start refining with our Nigerian crude. Aliko Dangote assuring. Now, we go to the next story, the lead story of this day. Naira weakens to 990 Naira to the dollar on parallel market as dollar demand overwhelms supply. Arbitrage gap widens further to 219 Naira. ROMAFC, 5.24 trillion accrued into the Federation account as NNPCL recorded zero contribution in 6 months because of, wait for it, subsidy. Where is that coming from? Federal government, states, local government share 3.06 trillion. I think that is in 3 months. In 6 months, yeah, that's the amount they have shared so far. Now, this first, the dollar to the Naira. Worrisome, our floating of the Naira, well, it's not bringing about the convergence, because the whole idea was harmonization, and that's what the president has been touting, even as at the United Nations General Assembly, the decision taken, it was meant to harmonize so that we don't have dual exchange rate and investors coming into the country had to deal with unstable Naira. But the problem is persisting. But according to the report, one is as a result of shortage of forex in the market, because even if you look at what the central bank made available on, of course, on the I&E window yesterday, the total turnover was $64.36 million compared to the daily volume of $71.01 million exchanged the previous day, as the supply of the greenback continue to wane. So if you don't supply enough, of course, because of so many people who want to buy for different reasons, school fees, yes, but there are also those who are just speculative. The Naira is depreciating, so they rush to go and buy the dollar with the hope that the depreciation will continue. So they also stoke the market into a frenzy, if you will. So a big problem with the harmonization of the exchange rate. Far cry. Arbitrage now 219 Naira. So speculators will want to have a field day, as it were. But the other aspect of the story, how NNPC has not remitted any money into the Federation account very recently. And this, according to the report, is a result of money being spent on subsidy. Again, the president told the whole world, subsidy is gone. But NNPC seem to be telling Nigerians by their action that subsidy is back. When the president comes, I'm sure he will address these issues. Because, of course, the price of crude oil in the international market is heading towards the $100 per barrel mark. And as such, diesel has responded. Diesel is being sold at over 1,000 Naira per liter of diesel, while Jet A1, aka Jet A1, the aviation fuel, also gone up to as much as 1,010 Naira per liter. So, what? Petrol, PMS, the one we call petrol, is still hovering around 580. So who is subsidizing? NNPC? No word from NNPC. We need to hear from NNPC. What is the situation of the petrol? Why are we back in the era of subsidy? And if that is not the case, we need to hear from NNPCL. Now, the Guardian newspaper, non-passage of bill, 15 years after threatening $77 billion telecom industry. Non-passage of the CNI bill threatens $77 billion telcos infrastructure. Telcos towards 34,862 base transceiver stations, 127,294. Fiber optics, 96,198 kilometers. And of course, the active telephone lines, 222 million. 320 million connected lines, 222 active. So the subscription, of course, 5G, 500,000, and of course you see the graphics there on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. Now, the Daily Trust newspaper, Kano Tribunal sacks Governor Yusuf, declares Gawuna winner. Government imposes 24-hour curfew. Business owners close shop. NNPP to appeal. APC applauds verdict. Yes. Let's look at other newspapers also reporting this story. The Punch newspaper also reporting this story. Tinubu, no, that's not the story. Now, APC tackles. No, it's a different story. Let's just deal with the Kano story before we go to other stories there. Let's look at the New Telegraph. Talking about the Tinubu story. Yes, that's what they're talking about basically. The Telegraph and the Punch newspaper. So we just take that story. The presidential poll. U.S. court orders varsity to release Tinubu's academic records. While the Punch newspaper, yes, the Punch newspaper, Tinubu's academic record, APC tackles Atiku as U.S. court grants ex-VP's request. Now, if we look at the Daily Sun newspaper, yes, also reporting the Kano story, the Daily Sun newspaper, curfew in Kano as Tribunal sacks governor, fear in other states. Bauchi governor's election affirmed. Apprehension in Enugu as Mba Edoga no faith today. Well, the the governorship election tribunal has given its verdict in Kano, and the Kano state governor has been sacked by the tribunal. Well, reasons given, of course, varied. Number of votes, not stamped, not signed, and you wonder how that could have happened. But the good thing, those who are not satisfied, the NNPP in this case, so they are appealing the judgment, and of course, I think we'll just leave it at that, so that they can go all the way to the Supreme Court to get closure on that matter. But there should be peace. People don't need to fight because of tribunal judgment, even if they are dissatisfied. The appropriate thing to do is to appeal. And the NNPP has said, yes, we are appealing. Now, another story in the front page of the Daily Sun newspaper, Labour alleges fresh move to sell 110 Unity schools, tells portfolio carrying investors to leave federal government colleges alone. This debate has been on for some time. I don't think the federal government, this federal government will go ahead and do that, to sell the federal government colleges. Yes, a lot needs to be done to bring them up to speed, what they used to be. This government has said that it will spend more, it will vote more for education. So selling off the Unity schools should be out of the question right now. Now, the Vanguard newspaper, pressure on petrol, diesel prices as crude hits $97.17 per barrel. Forex uncertainty hinder importation. Marketers, price of diesel now 1,100 Naira per liter. Adds to pressures. Aviation fuel rises to 1,000 Naira per liter. Analysts call for further government measures. Importation may end December 2023. Ipman, now, of course, above the masthead of the Vanguard newspaper. Oshodi Apapa Expressway gridlock. Commuters groan as Sanwo-Olu Port Police look on. The problem highlighted yesterday also by the Vanguard newspaper. Of course, the Vanguard newspaper is on that axis. They should know. They feel it, they see it, and they are reporting it. What is left is for the government of Lagos State to take some action, and the port authorities to also take action to ensure that people who work, who have their businesses, who have their residences in Apapa don't continue to suffer. Because Apapa, when we were growing up, used to be known as Ile-Ise, workplace where people go to work, a lot of factories. But a number of businesses have closed shop and left Apapa just because of this gridlock the government of the day cannot solve. Now, if we look at the Nation newspaper, the lead story, planned strike, NLC keeps federal government in suspense. SGF ministers meet with VP Shetima, Labour state chapters waiting for go-ahead. We just hope the dialogue will continue and government will put something concrete on the table so that this pending, looming shutdown of the economy does not happen. Now, above the lead story, Oluremi, my wife, friend, partner, says Tinubu, president celebrates First Lady at 63. I can hear some people saying, well, the president celebrating the First Lady will turn 63. Senator Oluremi Tinubu, in a few days of this government, in the past few months, carried herself with dignity, touched the right buttons, and making all the right sound bites. Oluremi Tinubu, First Lady, being celebrated by the president. Now, if we just look at the foreign newspapers quickly, with the Guardian of UK, we look at the Guardian of UK quickly, if we can put up the Guardian there. Yes, that's the Guardian newspaper. Yes, green bonfire. As Prime Minister, of course, the Prime Minister rose back on net zero targets. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak yesterday. That speech was supposed to be given on Friday. Apparently, he doesn't want his opponents to have the high ground. So he came out and gave the highlights of his new policy. But it amounted to rolling back on some of the targets put in place. But is this all about politics? The Prime Minister said no, but the way he puts it, he has pushed the ball to the court of his opponents, and he's saying, go and if you don't like my position, tell Britons why they should pay more when Britain is the leading country when it comes to pursuit of net zero targets. Ruben, Rufai, and Ayo.
So a couple of things. I'd like to felicitate also with the wife of the president. Prior to this time, as she was wife of then Governor of Lagos, she did a lot of charitable work, and we cannot forget her work. And many things she instituted, many ideas and plans that she instituted to help and better the lots of people. And on her 65th birthday, we just want to say kudos to her, congratulations to her, and wish her the very best in life. Secondly, I want to take a very important story that hurts me so much, and it's as if African leaders don't learn. It's around the back page here when they have the foreign stories of The Guardian, and it talks about the fact that Paul Kagame has finally come out to say that he wants to run for the fourth term.
For the fourth time, yeah.
When Paul Kagame first got in there, after the forces came out to fight out across religious tribal lines in 1994, Paul Kagame was 36 years of age. Now Paul Kagame is 65. He wants to run for the fourth term. And this was the same person that went out there, made a glowing speech at Onga and said all sorts. But these are part of the problems of Africa. We've talked about seat-tightism of African leaders. We've talked and berated the likes of the leader of Ivory Coast and leader of a couple of other countries. Now Paul Kagame wants to run for.
He amended the constitution.
He amended the constitution and did all sorts of shenanigans.
172.
So now he wants to run for a fourth time. You can see the hypocrisy, just like the hypocrisy of the Ghanaian president yesterday, where he was asking for reparation, which is a good start too, from Europe for all they've done for Africa, done against Africa over the years. I support that. But please, we also need to ask our leaders, who pays reparation to the people for bad leadership? Who is going to pay reparation for the Ghanaian people for the bad leadership and how he mismanaged the Ghanaian economy that was on a high when he came in? Who pays reparation to the people in all of this? And consistently, I'm asking that question for all Nigerian leaders that have ever been in power. Who is going to pay reparation for the people for all the bad leadership? You've meted out on the people all through the years.
So constitutionally, the president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, can rule till 2034. And that was because a specially created amendment to the Constitution, Article 172, in fact, where he was referred, the president is ineligible to run, and he has indicated following an interview with Jeune Africa that he was going to run for a fourth term. And again, perhaps he will use out his 19 years. And this is going back to the civil coups we had talked about, especially during the military coups that have swept across West Africa.
Coups against the Constitution.
Against the Constitution.
By civilians.
The Green Party is saying that they were still going to mobilize and put up a candidate, but we know how this is going to play out in terms of how the elections will pan out. Congratulations to Mrs. Oluwemi Tinubu on her birthday, 63rd birthday this year, and just say from New Era Foundation as First Lady in Lagos State to her strides as a senator and now as First Lady with the Renewed Hope Foundation. Happy birthday and long life and prosperity.
Well, I see all the sentiments that have been expressed about Paul Kagame sitting tight, like his brothers in Equatorial Guinea, in Cameroon, and elsewhere in Africa. He got to power in 2000, and he wants to spend another 7 years after changing the constitution in 2015. People say he's been a benevolent dictator, but it's either you have the rule of law or you have the rule of men. Now, the opposition parties in Rwanda have been suppressed. The media has been suppressed. Nobody has anything called freedom of speech. And on top of it, with all these concerns that have been expressed, he says he's not interested in what anybody says. That once the people of Rwanda want him, he will continue to serve them, and that he's not interested in what the Western world is saying. The same Western world that, patronizes him because they say, oh, he's been benevolent.
Yeah, he's doing well.
But the country does not belong to him or to any other African leader. And that's why we were saying, was it yesterday, that when President Tinubu was talking about coups about tyranny in Africa. The missing link in that speech was that he needed to condemn sit-tight leaders who violate the sovereignty of the people. Thank you very much, Emmanuel.